Hello guys, Darren here. Just a little video I thought I'd do of the engine swap I'm going to do on my cars. This is my little trusted 1981 first generation Honda Accord. I've moved the grille there. One lady owner from new, she'd had it from 1981 and I believe the story goes she died 20 odd years ago, and basically this was left in her drive, just sat idle for 20 years. So when I got it, sun had damaged it quite a while, the paint had been burnt off. So I've restored it as best I could to usable condition. It's nowhere near brand new or concourse, as you can see. But that wasn't the look I was going for. I was going for original used look. I wanted that used look. It's my daily driver to and from work, and it's not let me down yet. So yes, there's a lot of work I could do on this. I've seen a lot of your guys' cars out there. I know it's absolutely immaculate, and you know, my hat's off to you. Well done. You know, to restore him to that level of quality. But yeah, this is just basically my daily driver, and I've restored it to the usable condition. Obviously the brakes have been replaced, tyres, everything safety wise has been done on it. Upgrade the ignition. It's now got central locking, it's got alarm, stereo system's been upgraded. Done quite a bit of work on this engine. It's a 1602cc engine with air conditioning for the Australian spec, single barrel carburetor. None of the CVVC stuff like you Americans have for the emissions and things. This is just a general Australian spec. Timing belts, had a couple of timing belt changes in my time. Been on the road for about a few years now. Done the valve stem oil seals, that's probably about the major thing I've done on the engine. Rocker cover gasket, camshaft, crankshaft seals, and just basic spark plugs, oil filter, oil changes, things like that. What I have noticed with this vehicle, or this engine in particular, over the last 12 months or so, it's starting to burn oil. You get the little puff of smoke here and there, and it's getting more and more and more. And I've noticed now that it's actually going through quite a lot of engine oil. Usually, from a guess, it's usually about 2 litres per couple of thousand kilometres of driving, which I think is quite excessive. Which leads me to believe the bores are worn on this engine, or the piston rings, or both. The odometer is showing 58,000 kilometres, and I'm assuming this has gone around quite a few times, so I'm not exactly sure how many kilometres or miles this engine has done, but judging by the smoke coming from the exhaust, it's worn and it's in need of a bit of TLC. Driving wise, still drives awesome. It's got plenty of power, doesn't stall. Yeah, it still goes, no problem at all. Just the burning oil issue. So I've decided I've got to do something with this engine. I've got to strip it down and recondition it, which parts can be an issue, I know that, or I've got to find a replacement. So yeah, so which leads me on to this one. Now this is a 1G, first generation, 1978 model, purchased recently. It was complete, and it was actually a daily driver for a little old lady, lovely lady. She was a second owner, she had it from 1985. I've shut the front end down, but it's still registered in Queensland. This is a 5-speed manual. Mine is the 3-speed Hondamatic, semi-automatic. Same CC engine, slightly different. This is the earlier type. I think it's got the points and condenser in the distributor. Mine's got the electronic ignition, which I believe came standard from new, so it's a little bit of upgrade Honda did. Rocker cover different, if you notice that's got a cast aluminium. Mine has the tin steel one, but I'm hoping that everything else, the block, will be the same, because I've got to swap everything over. So I'm going to take the engine out of this and put it into mine. But what I'm going to try and do is keep my Hondamatic gearbox, separate this manual, and hopefully things is going to marry up. My torque converter is going to fit on this engine, mounting's going to work, and hopefully it's going to go like that. Plan B, if it doesn't, then I'm going to have to convert my car to a 5-speed manual, which is no big deal really. I understand a few of you have already done this with quite some success. Could be a little bit fiddly here and there with the linkage, but I've got everything as in this donor car So it'll be a matter of changing the box, the pedal box. I've got the slave cylinder, the clutch cylinder, everything, the linkage. So it'll just be a matter of swapping everything from that into that. Mine does have AC, so hopefully I can swap the air conditioning over, reposition the alternator, may have to do something to that, I'm not sure yet. The radiator in this one is pretty good. Mine is have been reconditioned, record a couple of years ago, so I'm going to keep my radiator. I'll try and keep my manifold, my carburetor, because mine runs perfect. Idles, starts up, runs, drive, no problem at all. This one does as well. I did test drive this, did about 50 k's in this, no problem whatsoever. So I could possibly at a pinch keep this manifold and a carburetor. But I know the emission system's slightly different. This has got a few more vacuum pipes and hoses on it, so just for ease, I'm going to keep mine. So I'm just going to use the block from this basically. I've purchased a new timing belt, manifold gaskets. Water pump in this I believe is okay. It didn't overheat, excuse me, when I drove it, so hopefully that's going to be good. But even if the water pump's an issue, that's an easy change later on down the track. It shouldn't affect the actual engine swap. So like I say, I'm going to swap the engine, the 1602cc, from this SJ. There's a chassis number there, I don't know if you can see that. It's an SJE Accord, 1978. It's got 58,000 kilometers on the mile on the odometer. Now the lady owner told me she got this engine professionally reconditioned about 15 years ago, and it is low mileage, so I'm assuming this mileage is correct. So this engine, when I drove it, didn't blow any smoke whatsoever. There was nothing coming from the exhaust at idle when I revved it hard and driving. So maybe it's correct that this engine has been reconditioned, but this certainly does not blow any smoke out like mine does. So for that reason, I'm going to take this engine and put it into mine. The purists out there will say, well, mine's not going to be original now because it's going to have an earlier type engine in, but hey, if it's going to get me to work and back every day, then I'm all for it. And at some stage then I might get this professionally rebuilt, reconditioned, and then put this back in, who knows. But for now, just to keep me going and keep the daily driver moving, I'm going to use the engine from that and put it into that. Yeah, one of these drive shafts actually, my left one there, knocks sometimes when you're going around a corner. It's got the old click, 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 so I'm not sure whether the drive shafts from this manual one will be compatible, but I'm going to try that also. If I can swap the drive shafts over, I will do. Like I say, I'm going to swap the carburetor manifold. I'm going to keep my electronic ignition, so this one's going to be no longer used. Hopefully it will be the same. If not, then I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So I'm going to start by draining the fluids. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this engine out here. I'm going to take this engine out. Then I'm going to have to separate them. I'm going to take the engine and gearbox all in one. Put my lifter there. I'm going to separate them and then just see if they will marry up, if I can fit the torque converter from this onto this. And if the mount's the same, happy days. Just going to replace the engine. If not, I'm going to have to replace the whole 5-speed system from this into this, which from memory when I drove these back in the day, the 5-speeds were a lot more fun, more usable. However, me now being at a certain age, I'm getting quite used to the automatic, not pushing the clutch down all the time and things, so I'm going to keep the automatic gearbox for now. It's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but this will be a spare as a backup. Okay.